Hello, everyone. Welcome to C-Suite Talks. We speak with industry leaders, introducing you to some of the most interesting people and businesses today. We're focused on women, money, and power, as well as diversity in all areas. Welcome to C-Suite Talks. I'm Beth Hilbing, co-CEO, along with
Hi, I'm Dianne Gubin, co-CEO, along with Beth. And today we are just so excited to have Rochelle Nitka with us. Rochelle Nitka is running C-Suite Search, and I am part of C-Suite Search. And obviously, C-Suite Search, C-Suite, it's so congruent. So, Rochelle, welcome, and we can't wait to talk to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Diane.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and why you got into the field and what you're currently kind of focused on. That'd be great.
Great. Yeah, I have an unusual story. The search industry is not one that people tend to, want to get into immediately out of school. But I was very fortunate in meeting someone who had a regional staffing firm when I was working while going to college. And I started as a salesperson in the staffing industry. And at that time, staffing was really different. We were literally outsourcing functions for companies before it became in vogue to send those positions overseas. So we were had a very high accountability, would actually take over. I remember we took over Toyota's distribution center and actually staffed the entire distribution center. And there was one Toyota employee in the entire facility. So it was very different then. And over time, I was in the industry for about 8 years. And then evolved into the executive search aspect of the business. And I started with Robert Half International. You may be familiar with them, very large international player. We opened an office in the local area in California, and I had 3 divisions that were reporting to me, and that's how I got introduced to the executive search side of the business, which is what I'm doing now. They are, obviously an exceptional company in the area of finance, and learned a lot with them, and I'm thrilled to be working with C-Suite Search and implementing some of those things, but also having the ability to be more innovative and create opportunities to meet the kinds of executives that we need for our client companies through some of the events that we hold at C-Suite.
Right. Plus, Rochelle, you owned your own company for a number of years too.
I did, yes. A company called Total Talent Partners, and definitely, search industry. You either love it or you get out of it.
It's actually a lot more work than people think it is. It's a ton of work.
It
I
really
know, and it's
is.
building. So the
Diane.
success is building relationships, right, Rochelle? That's what you told me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when you think about the search industry, it's relationships on all sides. For the client company, for us to be successful, we have to have a really great understanding of the company culture. We have to understand what kind of individuals they already have in their executive team, because sometimes we want to complement that with someone who may be different, or we may want to, look for someone who is very similar to their team environment. It just depends on what the company is trying to accomplish. We also have to understand specifically what kinds of skill sets they're looking for in that individual. So it's that in-depth relationship that allows us to ask the right questions and really know what it is that they want us to find for them. And every company is very different. Every single position is very different, which is fabulous for me. I enjoy that diversity. And every candidate that we talk to has their own nuanced experience as well as expertise. So it's
And needs and compensation and everything else.
Absolutely so fun to find those things out, right?
So, Diane, I have a question for you. So
Yes.
why did you decide to work with us and to start C-Suite Executive Search?
Oh, yes. Well, Beth, my background includes close to 30 years in executive search, staffing, IT consulting. Very oftentimes it's the same term, but a different flavor of it, right? So you have somebody who starts as a temp and then they grow in their career and then they become a contractor and then they grow in their career and they become a consultant, right? So with that said, as Beth and I have known each other for probably close to 25 years, I've been blessed to be able to stay in touch with many people within my business world of search. And what I have found, and the reason we started C-Suite Search is we started C-Suite first, which is an executive women's network. Many of our women have gone into transition, and whether it's by choice or whether something happened to them, and they oftentimes need new jobs. So my background with all that search and consulting, it just seems such a natural thing since we have this 8-city network within C-Suite, and so many corporate sponsors and women who are executives in current positions within companies to bring the search function under C-Suite Search, under C-Suite also, so that we could provide an extra service to our women in transition, to our corporate executives who are seeking talent, and just to our greater community overall. So if we look at our mission of C-Suite Search, which is really, we have 3 main pillars. One is education, which we do in spades. We, self educate. So we bring women on our network to speak. We have the community, which is what we support. We really try to showcase each of the women who are C-Suite members. And then we have the bigger network also. So C-Suite Search just dovetails perfectly under to provide support for everything that we're doing. How was that, Rochelle? Did that say it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Rochelle, as we are moving forward with C-Suite Executive Search and working it, do you have a target that you're looking at to achieve, and how are you approaching this, and how do you reach out to the companies and so forth?
Sure. So our target companies are middle market companies. We are really looking for, we work with some Fortune 1000 companies as well, but middle market firms is really our sweet spot. And we want to ensure that the candidates meet their strategic objectives and fit culturally within their organizations. And the way that we reach out to companies is to, focus on specifically those firms in the middle market that are growing, that are in very innovative industries, and may have needs to either shore up their staff and maybe are changing out from a startup to a middle market and need to have someone with different skill sets, or they're in a position where their growth is so rapid that they're adding positions and or changing people out. So and the way we contact people is through our network, as well as targeting specific companies in that arena.
And industries, we're industry agnostic, but we tend to focus on business units. So IT is a big business unit for us. My background was, many years working with IT consulting. Beth has been a chief information officer. So, she is intimately familiar with how IT works. Of course, she's done huge global projects,
finance as well.
And finance is a major business unit for us. Sales and marketing for sure, HR, just anything in a core business unit across industries we can pretty much work with.
Oh, that's lovely. So how do you help people navigate career change in today's, and what are you seeing in today's environment in the job market world for executives?
Well, besides all the government layoffs, we won't talk about that.
Exactly.
There'll be a little transition from that industry.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of that. And today candidates really need to have at least 2 executive search consultants in their smartphone. I mean, I highly recommend that. We're on top of the industries on a regular basis. Whereas when someone's looking for a position, they're looking at one certain point in time. So we can keep them informed, we can help them when they're ready to make that job search, or sometimes, being in touch. We might have a position that they had never even, they were completely passive, not really interested in making a move, but we might have a role that really elevates them to where they really want to be and in the future in their career. So it gives them an opportunity to have that extra information to be able to make some decisions. And then also, direct applications rarely work at the executive level. Oftentimes these positions are not going to be posted, or they're positions that are confidential and only provided through a search partner firm. So it's really important that they are constantly networking And C-suite is a great place to do that, especially for
Right.
female
Right, and
executives.
visible. And
Yeah.
actually, the worst time, look, we love anybody can join C suite at any time, but we often find within, especially for executive women, is women get super busy, super focused, and they don't take the time to build their networks. And then all of a sudden, they find that, their job was downsized, outsourced, you name it. And they're ready for a transition, and they just go, oh my gosh, I only know the people in the company that I've worked with. How do I expand my network? And that's when they join C-suite or other communities and decide all of a sudden they've got to make up for lost time and kind of hope to bump into the right person who can give them a job, versus having, being part of a community where you're known so that when you go into transition, you already have that huge network around you. There's one of our women who sent out an email yesterday, and she basically said, I have contacts at a top tech company if anybody needs this recruiter source. But unless you're a part of our network and our community, you wouldn't even know that you could tap into that. So,
Right.
there's a lot to say about being part of, C-suite and a bigger community that provides the support under search.
Well, and there's sessions like the HR leadership group
Oh gosh,
for
yeah.
executive females in human resources. There's the executive edge for C-level executives. I mean, these are places where we're also connecting with those executives that we might need to transition into a company, and or they now are being laid off in a government role and looking for something, in a transitional role. And we also have women in transition at C-suite. So
Right. And let's talk about each of those groups very briefly, just to expand on what they are. So the Women in Transition group, which Rochelle leads, thank you. Tell us who is in that group. What is that group?
such a large variety. We have financial professionals, human resource professionals, consultants who specifically help people who are in transition. So it gives them a lot of resources to use during, meeting those individuals. And we'll sometimes have a presentation where we'll walk through, what is the best way to handle, applying for positions when you're now in transition. Where are the best places to network? How can I design my resume to be most attractive and to be picked up when I am applying for those roles? Should I look at a board position? Those types of things. Other times it's just a conversation where all of us will talk about where we are in our role in transition and what we're looking for and what we need. So it's a really great support group for people who are in transition.
Right. Or people who are retiring for after many years in a corporate
point.
job. And what do they do next? That's transition. Going onto corporate boards, that's a big transition too, taking on that type of responsibility. So we address all that. Yeah, and then our Women in HR group. Why did we put women in HR together? And women in HR at the director and VP level specifically.
Yeah, well, as you know, it's a role where there's a lot of confidences. They have to be very careful about what they're discussing with people within their companies because they have access to very important and confidential information. So discussing those things with one another is oftentimes a better opportunity for them to really walk through a scenario and get feedback, or maybe there's a legal a parameter that's changed, and we'll bring that up and make sure that they're aware of what's going on in that through an employment attorney. So there's so many ways that they're able to then help one another in those roles,
and plus help our women in transition because HR is always part of the process. So then we've got the executive edge, which is really a CEO. Beth and I ran a CEO peer group for a long time. And, then, we went on to some other things within C-suite. The executive edge we started because we wanted to feature both women and men who are at the C level and share their wisdom down with the community.
Absolutely. Yeah. Beth, how have you felt about that? You've attended the CEO Edge because
Oh yeah, so I help run it.
Right.
Yes, no, it's been fabulous. So we've had two this year so far. They're scheduled through the year. So we had the CEO of Stella Jets, which is a private jet company, and Tia, which she was fabulous, and she shared her journey and how she got there and looking for funding and so forth, which is critical. And then we just had Ginger, who's the Senior VP with MasterCard Services and handles all the small business accounts for Canada and America. So we're really looking at the true C-level to bring that forward and to share with us their journey, their challenges, and how they're helping and giving back, which is very good. I sat on Catherine Gray's document series yesterday, which she is an angel investor and podcast host and a producer, and a lot of the women on there that are women founders and so forth were sharing their journey, and it's all about working together with women and hiring women. So I do want to go back to, where are you seeing the most opportunities? Is there a specific industry that you're seeing that's coming out this year, besides government, of course? But and we don't mean to make light of it, for sure.
Well, the tech industry is still very strong, and with the financial services industry as well. So even though it may not be banking, financial services in the way of advisory firms and that type of thing, CPA firms are constantly looking for people. They are so understaffed and really looking for leaders in their organizations to be able to drive their business and help them to operationally handle the business that they have. So those are three industries that I'm seeing a lot of activity in right now. Dianne, what about you?
Right. Well, I'm doing stuff in energy right now, and anything in energy is really, really hot. Forget all the government regulations and changes in solar and all that. Just, we have a big problem in the world, and that is the environment, and we've got to clean up the environment. And so if you think about anything that's environmental, and again, just because it's an environmental company, they still need marketing, they still need accounting, they still need every core skill that our community has. So I would say just look for the growth industries that are out there.
Right? That's really good advice to give.
Not the service businesses. You know what, Beth, we should actually talk about too, how can candidates get a job, whether you're a director or not, in today's economy? Like, what is really the secret? Because I know it can seem like such an uphill, never ending, all you do is apply all day kind of thing. So how can a candidate, Rochelle, find a job today in the economy?
Well, ironically, it's kind of, the market has shifted back to the personal touch. So there's a couple of things. One is, make sure that you're online. Make sure that if you're in transition, you are either doing podcasts or you are posting things on LinkedIn that are relevant to your industry, not necessarily that you're looking for something. You can do that as well. But to articles or, again, in C-suite, writing articles, having them published, making sure that you're talking with people. And there's so many great ways to do that on LinkedIn and or other resources where you can do a short video. It's just an informational video. And this kind of thing keeps you connected in your industry. Make sure that you're attending industry events. That's really important as well from a networking perspective. And then, of course, applying for those positions is important, but then reach out personally. Look at who your connections are and say, Beth, I'm trying to reach someone at, this financial institution. Do you know anyone? And they might be able to connect you. And you can then reach out and say, listen, I applied for this position. Just wanted to find out if you know who would be handling it, and try and reach in, personally, a lot like a recruiter would, positions.
Yes. And I'd like to add one more thing to that. And that is, especially today, everything is more niche than it's ever been. So it's, who are you? What is your personal brand? What does someone think of when they think of Rochelle or Beth? Like, who are you? Why does somebody come to you? What problem can you solve? So that brand is, again, going back to what Rochelle said, across your social media, or at least your LinkedIn, right? And reflected down into your resume and down into all the communication that you talk about. Remind people who you are. One pet peeve I have is, when somebody sends an email and they don't put their contact information at the bottom.
That's good.
You don't put your email or something, or your phone number or something that is a signature block that somebody can copy and paste. Just make it easy for your reader, to find you again.
That's very true. So to both of you, or to Rochelle, how do companies find C-suite executive search? And how do women in job transition find us as well?
C-Suite Executive Search can be found at csuite.org and the slash search. So very easy to get there. And I'm on LinkedIn. We also have a LinkedIn page, and we can be found through ads, etc. But generally, we'll be reaching out to them. The interesting thing about the search industry is that with intermediate positions, you post positions and you hope that someone's going to apply that's going to be qualified for that role. But with executive roles, it's so much more time intensive. We generally are going to be, it's a more rigorous process. We're looking for something very specific in experience and background and culture and brand, as you were saying. And it's very research heavy. And then we reach out individually to those individuals. So it's more of an outreach. So again, making sure that when you're on LinkedIn, your brand is there so that I can find you.
Right, and respond. So when someone reaches out to you through LinkedIn, even if you don't want that job that they're offering, at least make the relationship, at least to answer, right? Because we remember.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's true.
We
That's
do.
great.
We do. And so with that said, I would like to thank Rochelle Nitka, who is president of C-Suite Search, or director of C-Suite Search, whatever we're calling you, we're just running C-Suite Search. And of course, Beth, co-CEO of C-Suite. So thank you both for your time today. Let us thank our sponsors.
Yes, so Co-Resnick, Advisory Insurance Tax Services, City National Bank, Cigna Health, Uncle Nearest, a female-owned whiskey company, and C-Suite Executive Search, hiring for your team. Call Rochelle, Dianne, and thank you for listening today. And hit subscribe button on Apple, Spotify, everywhere you find your podcast. And you can always reach us, as Rochelle said, www.csuite.org. And thank you for your time today. Thank you, ladies, very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
very much. Great to